going to turn that over to Madame Lefrenière. Bonjour, Madame, et bienvenue.
Bonjour,
And
merci. Thank you.
I'm going on mute and I'm staying out of it. So, à vous, Madame.
Well, thank you, Michael. I'm very pleased to be here. And I see that we have Eric and Nicole with us. I don't know. It's up to you guys if you want to open your cameras. It's just I like to see the faces. I don't feel as alone in here, but it's up to you, and it's okay if you don't. So my name is Manon Lafrenière. I am a relation therapist. I've been practicing in l'Outaouais for many, many years. And I've been doing conferences here and there with caregivers. I've been accompanying caregivers through therapy, through group meetings, and all kinds of things. So, and I'm very happy to be here this morning to talk about emotions. It's not a subject that we like to talk too much about because we normally push it down or put it aside, but as caregivers, we do go through a lot of emotions, and it's important for us as caregivers to acknowledge that we have emotions, to identify them so that we can take care of them. Now, how do we do that? Well, that's what we're going to be doing today. There is one thing that there's a writer, Madame Colette Portelance, who's written many, many books. She says about emotions, I'm just going to read you she writes in one of her books. It says, to suffer psychologically is to feel unpleasant emotions, whose range of intensity varies between discomfort and anxiety. It is above all because I want to remind suffering people that a large part of their relief comes through their way of approaching their emotions, their experience, triggered by what afflicts them. And too often, unfortunately, this experience is repressed, rationalized, or dramatized, which has a double negative impact on your state of your health. And we know that there's a long list of different emotions, but the ones that we feel the most is the ambivalence that oscillates between guilt, anger, frustration, pain, and helplessness. And all these experiences intensely, they really, really, really are going up and down, different levels of intensities, especially with caregivers. So it affects you as a caregiver, but those emotions are happening with the person you're taking care to. They feel those emotions too. I'm going to read you a list first of how do you not deal with those emotions? Because repressing them or other ways will not help you to feel better. And it can go up to even making you feel sick, physically sick, mentally having problems like depression or hurting. It could be stomach aches, it could be ulcers, it could be all the pressure here that you feel, the stress pressing down on your shoulder, headaches, migraines. So what we do see a lot is that first people do avoid feeling, they deny it. They will even substitute it. And how do we do that? Is that not to feel, we'll replace it by either an eating disorder or even started keeping herself really super busy. I'll do this, I'll do that, and I'm all over the place, so I don't feel. There's repression, isolation, there's dramatization. So all of those are the main ways that we don't deal with our emotions. We even press them down inside of us. We don't go there. But the truth is, when we do all of that, the emotions stay in us and it builds up inside. And at one point, either we get depressed, our mood sweat changes and we don't understand why. We're more aggressive, more impatient. That's because all these emotions are bottled in. What are all the different emotions that we can feel, especially as caregivers? Well, there's anxiety and fears, helplessness, guilt, shame, anger, aggression, pain, sadness, frustration. We can even go to a point to hate, feel pity, fatigue, stress, and even being completely discouraged. I'm naming a few of the emotions, and those are mostly the ones that we do try to hide or press down and not go there. So the first thing that you need to do is when you feel something, is to try to identify, what am I feeling right now? Because first, if you want to deal with it and help yourself and appease your emotions, you have to know what they are. Today, we're going to go through a few of them. I've chosen 4 of them that are the most top of the frustrations. Example, the helplessness, the guilt, and the sadness, the pain. And how do we define what is helplessness? Well, first, helplessness is not an emotion. It's a state of mind. It's a state designated that designate the ability or the impossibility to perform an action or even achieve a goal. It highlights that obstacles stand in the way of your own satisfaction. It is the inability that prevents you from achieving those. This invites you to make a distinction between the power that you really have and the one that is out of your hands. So that's one way of helping you when you feel helplessness, is really to look at, okay, is this something I can actually do something about, or is it totally out of my hand? Or is it something I can do something about? And then to accept what it is. Because if you don't do that, then this helplessness will get bigger and bigger, and it will overwhelm you. When there's things that are out of your hands, it's to learn to accept, well, that's what it is. It is what it is. Not easy to do, but that sentence will help you. And if it's something that you can do about, well, just see what it is. Ask for help. Don't be shy to ask for help. Don't stay alone in your little corner and just ignore it. Because there is help. The other one that we feel a lot, because I felt it as a caregiver myself, is guilt. Now, what kind of guilt? There's a whole bunch of it. I feel guilty if I step out of the house because I want to go have an hour, have a coffee with a friend. I need a break. Or I feel guilt, just guilty that this person is the way she is or he is. Why him, not me, or her, not me? Or I feel guilty because I don't think I'm good enough. There is two different type of guilts. There's healthy guilt and there's the unhealthy guilt. And what's the difference between the two of them? Well, the healthy guilt is in regards to when you deliberately go against your values. Example, I feel guilty because with the person I'm taking care of, I have a value to really be there for that person, to take care of that person. That's important because it's my dad. But I deliberately decide to take a few days off. Well, it's a healthy guilt because I've decided to bypass my value of staying there, of being there for him all the time. And what do we do when we're in that position? Well, one thing that we have to say too is that that kind of healthy guilt is like a regret. And when I say the word regret, what comes up is that, oh, I didn't say what I wanted to say before he passed away. I regret not being able to say how I felt. I'll share all my love. So how to cope with that and help you is that it's up to you to take the responsibility for your action and repair the harm it hath done. How do we do that? Well, taking the responsibility of my action is to simply say, yep, that's what I've chosen. That's what I've done. Accepting it, saying it to yourself. So you can learn to accept, yep, that's what I've done. And it's okay. And now the other thing is, if you've done something and it created a harm, like if you said something that you shouldn't have said in anger, you regret it, well, you can repair it. And how do you do that? Is to be able to talk about it with the other person. Express it. Because if you don't, then it becomes what we call an unhealthy guilt. It's because that way it's called, like, if you're disguising the experience and you're making it acceptable to your eyes, like you're rationalizing it. Well, I didn't want to say it because I maybe I'll hurt him, or maybe he won't agree, or he'll get upset, or so that's why I didn't say this and this, or I didn't do this. So you started finding excuses instead of simply saying, I'm sorry. Saying I'm sorry means a lot to the other person and for you too. Sometimes I hear people saying, I'm sorry, but then you're not sorry for real. If you add that but, So it's really to take the full responsibility and see, you can even ask the other person, how can I repair this? Or another example, if you go out for a couple of hours and then the other person gets really mad when you're back, you left me alone. I'm sorry. You weren't totally alone because maybe you asked somebody to be there. Or you could say, I really needed to go do the groceries. I was gone 45 minutes and I'm really sorry that it upset you. So that's how you take your responsibility. And if you choose between saying yes or no about something, well, learn to accept and say it's okay that I said yes, and it's okay that I said no. Don't feel guilty about sometimes putting yourself first for a couple of minutes. Because if you don't, you'll go into depression, you'll become overwhelmed, you'll be more tired, more impatient. See all the other emotions that are coming up? Because underneath guilt, there's always a whole bunch of emotions that you haven't looked at. So by saying to yourself, yeah, okay, yes, it's true, I've done this or I've said this, then all of a sudden you'll say, okay, the other emotions will start to peak and just identify them for yourself. That helps. Another emotion is anger. And anger can come out so many different ways. We can get upset easier. We can start talking it a little bit louder and sometimes very loud. Start arguing because I'm angry. We can even go to the extreme and start insulting the other one, being mean to the other one. So there's many, many levels of anger. But no matter what the level is, you need to take care of it. And the anger is a simple emotion. And what it really means is that there's something that you're dissatisfied with. And what it says is that it manifests itself with regards to what we rightly or wrongly identify as being responsible for our frustration. Because when we are angry, because we are upset or frustrated about something, we therefore feel anger towards what hinders or that we're not satisfied. So you need to be able to identify, what am I angry about? Sometimes when we're in anger, we blame the other one. It's your fault. It's that fault. If she wasn't sick, or if he wasn't sick, I wouldn't be like this. Or I wouldn't be frustrated. That's another type of anger. Always blaming the exterior. And when you do that, all you do is get your anger bigger and bigger and bigger. So you need to stop and think, what am I really angry about? What am I not satisfied about? I'm angry because I don't have time for myself anymore. It's not the person that you're helping. It's not their fault. If you chose to stay there 24 hours, 7 days a week, all the time, that's your choice. Maybe you're angry at yourself. or don't see a way out. But there is. If you take the time to identify what's not satisfied, then you can see inside yourself what would be a solution to help you to satisfy that need. Because it all comes to a need that is not satisfied when you're angry. So what to do when you're in there? You have to welcome it. Welcome your anger. Say, okay, yeah, I am angry right now. I'm really upset. I'm really angry. That's what's going on here. And to understand the importance of the frustration that you feel, to be able then to really identify what need is not satisfied. And then you'll be able to reach a solution. And if you can't do it alone, get help. Talk to a friend. Don't stay alone with your emotions. Share. Allow them to express themselves. Now, there's different variation of anger. I'm just going to go show you a few of them. There's aggression. Okay? When we get really, we can get rough a little bit or a lot. We're discontent, disappointed, dissatisfaction, annoyance. That's a type of anger. There's irritation, which is a lower intensity of anger, but it is related to anger if I'm irritated. Or disgust. We've had it enough. Indignation. It's a form of revolt. It's because an action that seriously offends your values. Exasperation. That's a sign that you've reached your limit. And it's a limit that you can't bear hitting that limit. Hatred. You can go up to that if you don't take care of your anger. Fury. A fury is really an intense anger, but it's there. So to identify that you feel anger, then to see what is going on. Why are you angry? To find out what's the need inside of you that is not satisfied. And you can even identify, okay, what level of anger have I reached? Express it. Share with somebody. Just have somebody to listen to you. That helps. Sorry, just gonna have a little bit of water. Another one that we feel is sadness. Sadness can be sorrow, pain, hurt. Because again, sadness is a simple emotion. And it reveals a lack of emotional nature caused by the loss of a person, loss of anything. And I'm not mentioning loss of person here because I don't know if you, Eric and Nicole, or others are taking care of somebody who has Alzheimer's or dementia. But there's a lot of little griefs that you have to go through when you're taking care of a person that has Alzheimer's or dementia. You learn to grieve your history because that person right now is not there anymore in her mind or his mind. The person doesn't recognize you at one point. That's another grief. Because there's all these little ones. And you have to be careful with sadness, because if you don't let it out of your system, or if you don't allow yourself to have a good cry when you feel sad, that sadness will turn into anger, because it is the opposite. And when you're angry, you don't feel sad anymore. Because some people don't like to cry, don't want to feel sad. It hurts too much. But they don't mind feeling angry. So you have to be careful with that. And sometimes we say, no, I don't want to cry. Because if I have a good cry, I feel so tired afterwards. I don't want to go there. No, it's normal that you feel tired if you go through a really big cry. Because you've worked so hard holding it. And now you're releasing that pressure. You're exhausted. Have a nap. It's okay. And you'll see, you'll feel definitely a lot better. Those are all little tricks to help you out. And another thing you can do is that you really need to get in touch with your real feeling to be able to identify what's going on. And sometimes there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 feelings all bottled up. Just accept them. Identify them. Talk about them. And you know, being sad it's not equal to a depression. If you need to cry once, twice, 3 times, it doesn't mean you're in a depression. If you hold it all the time, yes, you will end up in a depression. But expressing it, you'll feel freer. You'll feel more alive. And what are the different variations of sadness? Like I said, there's sorrow. And sorrow can be close to the depression. And what is depression? Well, it is a mixture of sadness and discontent experience, and it will affect your mood. When I feel pain, it's because your sadness is at a very high level of intensity. And you can feel it physically. You have stomach ache. Sometimes you feel like your heart is all being really restrained. And if you try to hold it in, I don't know about you guys, but if I don't want to cry and I feel it coming up, it makes a little ball in here and it hurts like crazy. But you do feel it physically. There's also, now, sorry for my French, but try saying it in English. I have always a hard time with that word, is melancholy, melancholy. That is really, really, really deep. And it's a feeling that is persistent and it just won't go away. And melancholy is a lot of times referred to your souvenirs were sad. Yes, Michael.
So melancholy in English is also melancholy.
Melancholy.
Melancholy, it's the same thing.
Oh, okay. I just don't know where to put the accent.
Okay, that's why I have it.
Thank you, Michael. So it's like I was saying, it's a lot of times referred to as souvenirs. I will remember when we were like this, we were doing this. It makes you sad. But talk about it, share your memories, those good memories with the person that you're helping, with others. It will appease that melancholy and your sadness. Being unhappy. Okay, what's the difference about that? Well, that is a state of mind, a state of dissatisfaction. And that can manifest itself not in sadness, but in also other emotions. I'm unhappy because I'm always frustrated. I'm never satisfied. There's a lot of things going on under there. Gloominess. That's a vague of sadness, but mixed with irritation. And when you have those two, then you're gloom. And there's nostalgia that is close to melancholy, because that too will really evoke the past of well-being. A happiness that was already experienced and that you're not experiencing anymore. So that's what's going on. And again, is to be able to put words on all your different emotions, to be able to identify them. That's step number one. No, I would say that step number one is to learn not to put it aside, not to keep it all bottled in. Don't try to rationalize it or justify it by excuses or all kinds of things, or just don't talk about it at all. Well, that's number one. Learn, observe yourself to see, what am I doing? When I get mad, what do? Oh, I'll go wash the floors, get all my anger out or all kinds of stuff instead of realizing I'm angry. And it's okay. That's how I'm feeling right now. So and two is to identify those feelings and let them out by talking. You can even write it down if you have a journal. It helps. But don't isolate yourself. It's by sharing, expressing it, that you will appease, no matter what emotion you have.